there is also with this inability to receive, what we also can see with some women, it's like this martyr energy, which can be hard for women to accept because part of their identity is tied up in these stories around, I do it all on my own. No one can do it as good as me. Yeah, my partner never helps. He's lazy. He's this, he's that. Or my family lives far away, so I don't have any help. And that becomes their identity. But there's no magic in being the martyr.
Yeah. Well, and that ties into vulnerability.
Exactly. Well, and that's the biggest thing, as I was going to say next, is that receiving is so vulnerable.
Yes.
And not being the martyr anymore is so vulnerable because you really have to be open, right? And so many women, we've closed ourselves off to all of those things to keep ourselves safe.
Yeah.
And really, that's where the magic lies.
Welcome to Limitless, the podcast for cycle breakers, change makers, and conscious leaders who are done performing, proving, and pleasing, and are ready to live, lead, and create from deep alignment. I'm your host, Fiona Walsh. Every 2 weeks, I hold space for real soul-expanding conversations with guests who are still in it. They're navigating their biggest fears, shedding old identities, letting go of patterns that no longer serve them, and rising into their limitless potential. Together, we share what it's really like to be human, messy, raw, imperfect, and learning to own every part of ourselves, even the ones we've tried to keep neatly tucked away. We go deep into the work of coming home to yourself, getting out of your head, feeling safe in your body, letting go of old stories, and creating a life that's true to who you really are. Subscribing to Limitless is the best way to make sure you never miss an episode. So hit pause and tap follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Because this isn't about doing more. It's actually about remembering who you are. And that's what makes you limitless. Welcome to Limitless. Today, I'm joined by Amber and Hilary. They're twin sisters, energetic mirrors, and the co-creators of Menifestation. They're originally from the US, but now they're based in Byron Bay, Australia. And these two will bring a frequency today that's both grounded, honest, and fun. Amber and Hilary are also color analysts, which we're going to hear more about today, podcast hosts, radio DJs, and multidimensional guides. Now, some of you may know them as Twin Transmissions, or if you live in Byron, you might know them, as I said, from their Rise and Vibe DJ show on Bay FM. But their deepest body of work that really stays with you is through their new signature process, which looks at color analysis. And it's a real manifestation hack, which we're going to get into today. It's not just what you wear, but it's how you live, lead, and manifest from the inside out, and how color can really help enhance your frequency. Now, I first came across these two ladies when they were guests on some of my friends' podcasts in the US. So shout out to Julia and Kristen for Dream Your Life and The Evolving Mama. And their presence when I heard them on both those shows really stayed with me. And we were in contact for season 1 and the timing didn't quite work out. But when I saw this recent new offering that they're onto, I knew that the timing was right and alignment had come into play. So Hil and Ber, thank you for being here. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today.
Oh, we're excited. Yes, thank you for having us. Thanks, Fiona. Yeah, and for anyone watching, I'm Hil and I'm Ber. So Ber's in the green and Hilary's, I'm in green.
We're both green.
Yeah. Ber's on this side. But as we talk to, for your listeners that are just tuning in and not watching the video, we identify ourselves as we talk.
Yeah, because we have the same voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome. Very similar. Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to throw it straight over to you guys. What was that turning point moment, that pivot point where you were like, oh my God, I'm done. This stops here. Something's got to change.
This is Hil talking. So it happened to me first. I think because I had kids and I was more tired, more just like,
you had to reach your max.
I'd reached my max of stress levels. So Ber and I were both in medical device sales for probably about 15 years. And anyone who knows about the industry or doesn't, it's high pressure. It's moves fast. It's, you're in an operating theater most of the time. You're in hospitals. And it's just a very a stressful work environment, but it's golden handcuff. It's golden handcuffs 100% because you get paid commission. And what most people don't realize is when you go into a hospital, a rep has sold that hospital on everything that's in there. The chairs you sit in, the trolleys that you're on, the curtains when you when you're in like the maternity ward giving birth and you go in a shower, the Q-tips, like literally everything. There's a rep that's selling it. And so we were in the industry for a long time. And then I moved to Australia about 10 years ago. And when I moved here, through a series of events, it turned out that I had a 6-month-old daughter at the time. And I had to be the one to go to work because we moved to Australia from San Francisco to be close to Amber. And we were very naive about, we all were, about the immigration process. You know, we just, my husband and I rented out our house in San Francisco and just got a 1-year tourist visa. And we said, oh, we'll just travel a bit for a year. We have our 6-month-old, spend some time with her, and easy peasy, we'll be able to get jobs. And it turned out that, and my husband was the one that was supposed to go back to work. And then Australia can be very savage for anyone trying to here. Mm-hmm. And it's doable. It's doable, of course, and it's always doable. But they changed the immigration laws right when my husband started looking for work, and they changed the age limit. It went from I think from like 50 to 45, and he had just turned 46. And we're like, So I went back to work and I had to get permanent residency for the whole family. Otherwise, we were going to get kicked out. So I lived in Melbourne. I had my first daughter. She was about 1.5 years at that point. And I worked really hard because I was like, all right, well, we have to get sponsored. And so you have to be like the best employee, always hit your targets and prove your worth, essentially, which, you know, that's a whole game and rabbit hole in itself. We could unpack that. But once we got permanent residency, which took about 4 years, we'd always wanted to move to Byron Bay. And I just finally told my job, I said, hey, like I have permanent residency now. You can't like kick me out of the country. Essentially, I didn't say it like that, but that was my mindset. And I just said, we're moving to Byron Bay. We moved to Byron Bay. They transferred me there, and then COVID happened. So this was April 1st, 2020. We moved from Melbourne, or for your American listeners, Melbourne. So we actually booked the last flight out of Melbourne, April 1st, 2020. I'll never forget it. Our whole family was there. And we got the last flight before they closed the borders down. And so that's when COVID was first hitting. And we got to Byron. And it was actually amazing because we're right on the beach. And this was the place we have dreamed of living for 4 years. Mm-hmm. And we got here, and then the borders to the neighboring state. So where we live in Byron Bay, the next state over, Queensland, is maybe 30 minutes away. And my territory for medical sales was supposed to be all of the public and private hospitals in Queensland. Yeah. So it was amazing because I couldn't go to work and I had to stay in this bubble, which was like, it was Australian winter, right? Or going into the Australian winter, which we would know, Fiona, is like the best time when you're in a tropical climate. Yeah. Because the sun is not trying to kill you. Yes. You can lay out in it all day. It's really dry. It's very dry. Yeah. And so it was a really lovely time for my family and I to reconnect because I had a second daughter by that time, Petal, and she was not quite 1 year old. And so I had been in this like hustle, having babies and then going, doing like more of the American vibe of you go back to work after 3 months. And I was really, really burned out, but didn't even know. But getting that time here during COVID where I couldn't actually go to work, I couldn't go there for a few months. Yeah. And it was amazing. You got so tan. I got so tan. She would be on like video calls. You were Fiona in Melbourne. Yes. This is Ber speaking. I was still trapped in Melbourne because lockdown there was like the craziest in the world. And I was still in my medical device job there. And my husband and I were like, okay, we're going to move to Byron, but maybe in like a year. And that was kind of the plan at the time. But then I get on FaceTime with Hilary every day and she's like laying in the sun topless. She's like so brown and bronze and tan. But Hilary would tell me that she'd get on calls with her teammates that were in Queensland in the other state. And they're like, wow, you are so tan. And you look so tan. You look so well rested. Yeah. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, it's pretty sunny here. And I'm like trying to play it down. Yes. But so I'm here. I'm in Byron. And we had a little back house, which Amber ended up moving into. I left Melbourne. But I just started realizing, well, you know what? Like, I don't have to do it the way that I've been doing it. And you can't. And I can't. I was at my max of just being so burnt out. And so we, through a series of serendipitous events, like getting the rental that we were in, the owners, once they realized COVID wasn't going to be that big of a thing here in terms of really hard on the real estate market, it was actually going to be better for it. They were like, oh, we don't want to renew your lease. And we wanted the house. We're going to Airbnb it again because Airbnb started popping off, which ended up being ours. We couldn't find a rental anywhere. So we'd go to places and there'd be like hundreds of people waiting to get in, hundreds of applications.
Yeah, and offering to pay more.
And offering to pay more.
Because now everybody realized like, oh, I can work from anywhere now because Byron Bay is like that Mecca in Australia where it's one of the most idyllic places. It's like and you know this, Fiona, because you're Aussie, but like if we always say if Malibu and Kauai had a baby, that would be Byron. And so everybody in Australia and globally were like moving to Byron because they're like, oh my God, this is our dream location. And now I can work from anywhere because it's remote and it's a small town. And so it's not like there's heaps of places to live. So you were going through that. You got evicted.
Basically, yeah, we basically got evicted. And then my husband said, well, now that we're permanent residents, why don't we just go to the bank and see if you can get a loan? And we'd never thought about that. But we just went to the bank and then I applied for a loan. And we also were selling our house in San Francisco because COVID happened there before it did here. And so we were like, well, let's sell San Francisco to buy something here. Through a series of serendipitous events, sold that. And then we went and like basically found our dream home and purchased it. And the day after it closed, January 2021, I quit. And what I had realized through living in a place like Byron where there are so many Airbnbs and going through what we went through, I was like, oh, Airbnb is actually a really great bridge to get you where you want to go, to like create your own business and just get out of working for someone else and doing something that I love, because I love interiors, I love beautiful homes. And Amber's husband is a builder, a property developer. He's a chippy by trade, which is like a carpenter by trade. And when we moved on our property, we had this like perfect 2-door tin garage, two car garage. Yes. And he was like, why don't you turn this into a luxury 1-bedroom Airbnb? And because Brad and I had escaped from Melbourne at that point, and we were living on the property because it had 3 houses. It had 3 houses on it. He converted it, and then you started doing Airbnb, and you were like, "See ya." Yeah, that was really your moment of like, you can't do it anymore. Well, and I remember having a conversation with Amber. I called her and said, hey, because we worked at the same company. Yeah. And I said, hey, I'm quitting tomorrow to do this Airbnb thing. And I go, I'm scared for your children. Yeah. She's like, you really need to think about their future. And you were really like nervous for me.
Well, that's because I was still in the way of thinking of like, you know, a corporate job is safe. And like we were making income. And so you really, but I think.
Well, and you couldn't see the vision.
Well, okay. I think, well, I couldn't, this is the interesting thing. I was just worried because you had kids. I was just like, I was worried for how it would all work out. The amazing thing is that it all worked out perfectly. And this is Ber speaking, because I was with Hilary, like watching Hilary, she really was like expansive for me in a lot of ways, because I saw that she could, because again, like you were in a position where like, I can't do this anymore, but you also had a family to support. Yeah, you were still like, I don't care. Like, not I don't care, but like you trusted in yourself. I trusted myself to know that like everything's going to work out. And then this is Ber speaking. I was basically in the same job. Like my hold on moment came probably like a year later.
Yeah. Yeah. But like there were so many, I'm remembering all the crazy things that happened to you during that time. There's so many. Universe was trying to push you out.
Yeah. The universe was long. I couldn't let go because, well, I mean, there were so many things. Like I didn't even know what I would do, because we also in this point in our life, we had just turned 40 or we were about to turn 40. And I think so many women can relate to that part of your life where you're just like, you've done all the things you're supposed to, right? Like you've like crushed it in corporate, you've like girl bossed, but then you're still like, is this like, and because this is like, I never had kids. And so for me, I always thought this is so crazy to think of this now, because my husband and I did try to have kids, and then, but
you really tried. You did like 6 transfers.
Oh yeah, we really tried. But the thing, looking back on it, the reason why I really wanted to be a mom was because I thought it would be a break from my corporate job. And you also told me that you go, I would love unconditional love. And I was like, girl, if you think your kids are going to give you unconditional love, only when they're like babies, like when they're babies, they do. But when they're older, they start to say really big things to you.
Yeah.
And I really, well, now that, and this is the thing, like when you're in your like late 20s, when we first started trying to have kids, my husband and I, like, you're just so naive because none of our friends had kids. And so I idealized it. I idealized it. And I literally thought that it would be my break because like in the type of sales I did, in medical, I did orthopedic trauma. And so I was on call 7 days a week. I was, I did that for like 10 years of my 15-year career. And so I thought being a mom would give me a break. Thank God, didn't work. I didn't work. Yeah. I've made total peace with not being a mom because now I get the best of both worlds. I get Hilary's kids. We live yours down. We live 2 doors from each other. But I went through the same sort of thing where I was like, okay, Brad and I left Melbourne. We moved onto Hilary's property until we could find our own place. And I was like traveling, still doing medical device for a year. Then I left that job because I was like, I just can't work in hospitals anymore. And then my ego was like, oh, let me see if I could get a job at Salesforce because I've always heard that's kind of like, see if I could do software sales. It's like supposed to be a really great job and a great company. I got the job. And then maybe like 6 weeks in, I was like, what have I done? And then I quit. And the same thing, my husband and I, we had bought a property because he's a developer. We transformed part of our property into an Airbnb. And so that was like, okay, that was your bridge too. That was my bridge to get the medical. But yeah, it was, and even then we had no idea what, like twin transmissions hadn't even been born yet. But for your listeners who are like at that stage of where they're like holding on, the amazing thing is that when you do finally let go, so much space, so much come in. Yeah, for so much inspiration, because that's when your podcast idea came through. Mm-hmm. And then I had the capacity and I was doing something that I loved, the Airbnbs. And yes, what I realized being in Byron, I was like, everyone that I meet is so interesting. Yeah. It's like the founders of these amazing brands that I love, like Zul and Zephyr and Nagnata, or the founder and developer of Flightboard. Yeah. Like even the founder of like Tripadeal, which is like airline. Yeah, like everywhere you go, there's someone like the energy here is that it really brings in people who are very entrepreneurial. Yes. And they just followed their passion. They followed their passion. That's a big one. Yeah. And so I just went for it. Yeah, I went for it. And that's when I met Julia, who's like our mutual mentor. And I just said, I heard her on a podcast and I said, I actually would love to interview these people. I have no idea where it's going to go. This was about 3 years ago because there's so many interesting people here. Yeah. And I just want to have these conversations and tie in the manifesting piece because for your listener, I will say that manifesting has been the common thread in everything. And even with color analysis now, we have always, when we were in our corporate jobs, we were closet manifestors. Yes. So we used to use these principles around quantum physics and energetic, hit our number. Well, to do so, but we were saying like, oh God, like we're so much more powerful, but we were using it to be like rep of the year, to get like a glass plaque, to walk across Which is like, why did we dream bigger? But well, now that we know that we can literally create anything we desire, I look back. I mean, I literally spent like a year meditating on winning rep of the year. And you did. But I'm like, I just leaves it. And it's just like the way that we're conditioned on what exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So that was like our moment. And it's just, manifestation has been the common thread through everything. Mm-hmm. And by following and being open and honest about that passion is really also where more magic has come in. So I say for the listener, it's being honest about the things that you desire and the things that light you up. Yes. And only like, if you can, like, just focusing on what brings you joy versus like, what is the result going to be? That's really the season of our life that we're in now is like, if the process isn't going to totally light us up, then it's a full no. If we're literally only focusing on the result and what we've created, then that's a no for us. Would we do this if we had no idea how this would turn out or if it went nowhere at all? Yeah, if it went nowhere and if the answer is yes, then we do it.
Mm-hmm. But if you were back 3 years ago, did you have that level of self-trust or has that evolved as you over the last few years? Because you did mention earlier, and I know this is a big one when people are in corporate, and I will put my hand up, I was stuck in, this was a block for me. It was like, there was a real illusion around safety in my role in that I've got a paycheck coming in every month and I need this for the family and da-da-da-da. And then, I mean, I've seen just because there's a lot of recession and contraction happening, like, people are losing their jobs with no warning and the rug is being pulled out. And I'm like, oh, wow, the safety net was never really there. Like it's very much an illusion. So What did you guys do in those early days to build that self-trust? Because I know it doesn't always happen like that.
Yeah, 100. Well, our biggest thing is we always get okay with what the worst case scenario is. So anytime we're like making a big decision, we first start with, what's the worst? What's the worst that could happen? And can we make peace with that? And what we realize now, because we've done so much research with our own process that we've developed, we always love to go into like the primal psychology of things and what's actually like, why is it that this hack works? Because it's something that we've always done. Go to worst case scenario. We did it in our corporate jobs all the time. And when we went into the research of why that works, it's because your nervous system has an opportunity to calm down, and making peace with something creates space for more magic. So there's like the primal perspective, but then there's also the quantum physics energetic perspective of it. And we would do this with our husbands. And so for myself, this is Ber speaking, with my husband, I'm like, okay, what's the worst that could happen? I leave this Salesforce job and we have this Airbnb income and maybe I don't make that much money. Like, what would be the worst case scenario? Okay, well, we'd have to sell our house and then we would, rent somewhere, but we'd still be in Byron because this is our best, like this is the best place we've ever lived for the two of us. And so my husband and I were like, okay, we can make peace with that. And so yeah, the same thing. And I'd say that's where you start. That you make peace with the worst case. When you're thinking of making a leap from like the safety of a corporate paycheck, first, okay, make peace with if I fail, then what happens from there? Do I have to sell everything? Do my family and I have to live in like a van down by the river? Well, whatever to do with your family, because you actually had 2 kids. Yeah. So what we did was, my husband and I talked about it and I said, well, worst case scenario, if this Airbnb doesn't work out, we sell our house. We have the down payment that we put in, so we would get that back. And then we even considered during all the COVID stuff, we're like, maybe we should be living in a van down by the river. Like who knows what's happening? But we went to worst case scenario, which you just both go get corporate jobs again. Exactly. Yeah, we both go get, and then that's the thing with having a corporate background. You're so hireable because you're like you've been trained, right? You've been trained how to operate in that environment, and so there's always an opportunity to go back. But what I will say is that once you start to take the leap and you get little wins, because there's a manifestation guru, her name is Lacey Phillips, and she talks about building your trust muscle. And we love building your trust muscle because it's about self-belief, right? So once you take that step and then you see, okay, like my life didn't fall apart, it's like, and you get excited by it, you start to build confidence in yourself that you can do this. Well, and what we know too, because we love talking about frequency, like our whole thing at the moment is like, we live in a hologram. Not like we totally, but in the best possible way, because you can create anything and it makes you be super present with your life. But building a trust muscle essentially is just frequency familiarity, because what you're doing is that you're taking steps because quantum physics says everything is just energy vibrating at different frequencies. And so when there's like this rhetoric sometimes in manifestation where it's like, oh, like I need to, I feel unworthy. Yeah, I feel unworthy. And so I need to become whole. Yeah, all those things, which, like some people, and I would say like, I definitely went through that phase of my journey and healing certain things in me. So some people need to do that. Other people don't. But for the people who are like, healing my inner child doesn't really resonate with me. If you actually think about your next level life as just a frequency that you're not familiar with, and you lean in, because again, we love this, like the energetic piece of like, if there's something you desire that you're curious about, because you may not even know that you desire it yet, but you're curious. And the energy of curiosity is like a lean in and an expansiveness. And that is like the energy of openness. So it's like, okay, I'm curious about this thing. I'm going to lean in and be open to it. And then it's like, that trust muscle that Hilary's talking about, it's really just this perpetual state of being curious about something, leaning in, getting familiar with the frequency, like holding that level and doing it again. And so it's just really like the way that we view creation and manifesting now isn't so much of like, I'm writing a list, but it's more like, what are the things that I'm curious about? How can I lean in and get familiar with what this feels like, and then hold that space and then do it again and then do it again. And then before you know it, your reality is like and it's like so different. You can't even recognize your old life.
100%. Yeah. So for the person who's listening and they're like, I don't even know where to start. Number one, make peace with worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Number two, start to get in the energy of the things that you desire. So if for the Airbnb things, I just started to follow people on socials that were doing Airbnb. And I started to get different things from them. Like, okay, like these are the things that they're saying, are really important to have the best guest experience. Messaging them if I have questions. We started to go look for like tile selection and linen. Yeah. And again, just like getting and creating something beautiful. Yeah. The process of it didn't make me go, oh, it made me go, oh, well, and my worst case scenario was, well, if this doesn't work out with Airbnb, then all is there. We could live in there and rent out the rest of the property, which we actually ended up happening here when I was just doing the podcast and doing all of these and also the Airbnb and the radio, which some of those things weren't paid. And then the interest rates here changed. So we actually had to like put our money where our mouth is, because in Australia, you can't lock in your mortgage for a finite amount of time. It changes.
Which you didn't know.
I had no idea. And so every month you're like, why are it's getting big? Yeah, like my payments. And so our mortgage doubled.
Yeah.
And so what was really interesting is that we actually did have to move into the smaller part of our property and rent out the bigger. Our whole family was in a 1-bedroom little studio, but it made us also get really clear of like, we actually would, like, this isn't bad because we're in our favorite place. And what we actually still want to focus on, my husband building his business and me doing the things that I love. And so I wasn't even willing to go back to corporate by that stage because it felt so good to be free and to also kind of live in this energy of like, you don't know what's going to happen, and start to get excited by it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. What you said earlier, I think, Hil, you said that you had the big vision. The Ber didn't buy into it yet. What was it? What was it that you were desiring? Like how far along are you? What was it? Can you share more?
With what the vision was?
Yeah, for you in life. And
did you have one yet? I don't know if I had one. It was more just I'd had a taste of what it was like to have more autonomy over my time in a place where you love, in a place where I loved living. Like living here, that's what we say is one of our hacks as well. If you don't know where to start, but you hate where you live, find somewhere that you live, even if that also means staying with your corporate job. Because being in the frequency of a place that you love just means that your energy is amplified just by existing in the place. So we get a lot of inspiration from the ocean. We'll go on a walk and then we'll just get a download of like a really great real idea. And then we're like, oh, that was just for like living our life. But when we've lived in other places, the inspiration wasn't as really flowing. But you're always wanting to be somewhere else.
Well, and that's the thing is that Byron is our happy place, but for each individual, it's something different, right?
To be a big city. So in terms of the vision I had was just having more autonomy on my time. And because during COVID, I'd gotten that taste of being on the beach, quite frankly, and just like being in the sun and creating time with my family.
And what I would say that was crazy for speaking is that I think even though Hilary was luxuriating in the sun all day, she wasn't going into over the border and actually working in our hospitals. You ended up being like the number 2 RASI in your division. Oh my God.
Before I quit. Yeah, I ended up and then they wanted me to give a talk on how I had done it through the crisis. And I was like, oh my God. Well, I was like, can I talk about how I was meditating every morning and then laying in the sun all day with my kids? And, I'm like, nope. So I just, that was so cringe. Well, yeah, it was so cringe. Well, no, but it was also a testament to catering to your own energy and doing things that you love. And how everything just works out. Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, I was number 2 in the whole division. And I was like, literally, I worked this much.
Yeah. But again, if this is all just a frequency and an energy gap, then this is another one of our top tools, which is self-care. We talk about like our 3-a-day rule, do at least 3 things per day. They have to feel good in the moment, not for relief after, because good in the moment helps you. Because we speak to so many women, probably like you do too, Fiona, where it's like, they don't even know what they want because like when they feel so stressed. Yeah, so stressed.
It's like fog. Everyone describes it to me like fog. Like they're like, why people talk about clarity? I can't even see through the fog, let alone what's behind it, which would, transmute clarity.
100%. Yeah, because it's like so many women were overperforming, we're over functioning, we're tired, we're exhausted, all the things, and resentful.
Yeah, I mean, there's false.
of things. But really, until you start to cater to, because no one is going to come save you. Like we also talk about how you are the main character of your life, and it's nobody else's responsibility. It's not, it's not your husband, your boyfriend, your friends. Like it's nobody's responsibility to come and rescue you. You are the creator of your reality at all times. And so if you desire a different life, even if you don't know what that is, like we always say, like, start turning inward. And if you just do 3 micro things per day, again, like for me, and we say, like, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. And because what happens, the magic of even just doing 3 small self-care things per day is that you start to figure out what you like doing, because the barometer of it, like being self-care, is it has to feel good in the moment. Then you start to realize so for me, Amber speaking, what feels good for me in the moment is I love watching Real Housewives. I watch every season, every episode. And for me, that self-care and like we always say, like, if it's your guilty pleasure, then that's usually a good place to start, because as women, we can be like, it's my guilty pleasure to, I don't know, eat a box of bonbons, right? Like if that's your thing to do. But yeah. It's getting over a cold. And so start with your guilty pleasure, and it'd be like a cup of, like, really sitting with a cup of tea in the morning, or coffee. For me, this is Hil speaking. There's this Australian chocolate called Loco Love. That's amazing. And you only need 1 piece, but you actually could eat like 5. Yeah. And eating it, just sitting there and being present with it, that's self-care. Yes. Going for a walk, just like going out and sitting in the sun for 5 minutes. Yes. It's self-care. And what else starts to happen with the self-care when you make it part of your everyday routine is that you start to figure out what you like. And like you start to get, not only do you figure out the things you like doing, but you actually do them. So you're following through, which rewires your neural pathways to feel more deserving, to feel more worthy. And so when we tell women about our 3-a-day rule, they're like, self-care. They're like, I want. But we're like, no. Like this actually it's a manifestation hack as well, because we always say your solutions live in the higher frequencies. And so if you're prioritizing yourself 3 times per day, even if it's micro moments, those states of being, those energetic states of like bliss, of gratitude, of joy, all those things, it makes the energy less dense. And so because we're always manifesting and we're always creating, you can still create when you're in those lower vibe states of like anxiety, resentment. But when you make self-care intentional every day and you're putting yourself in those high vibrations, things come through so much faster. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Yeah, two threads that I'm like pulling through both of that is around, well, one in those micro moments is that you're actually getting really present. So, which if you're an over-functioning high achiever, which most people listening are, presence is something that we're like, oh, I don't have time for that. So the presence is part of the unlock. And I also love one of the things I think I find with my clients, and this was me a couple of years ago as well, is you, particularly when you become a mum, if you've had people-pleasing tendencies, is that you just pour yourself into everyone around you. And the actual like act of giving back to yourself is bloody uncomfortable. Like it's like, ooh, I mean, it's like, and that's, sometimes when people push back, it's because they're like repulsed by it, because they're so disconnected from actually having self-compassion and having self-love, which is also those higher vibrational frequencies that you guys talk about. So it's fascinating how a lot of people need to do work to like reconnect with themselves to be able to receive.
That's the huge one. Receiving is such a big a block that a lot of women that we meet all the time that you have. Well, because we can tell it just by when we give women compliments, especially when we're meeting them, we're like, oh my God, we love your top, or like, you look so beautiful, right? And most women, what they'll do is they will say like, oh, this old thing, like I got it at Kmart. Or they'll be like, oh my God, like you look so great. And they'll deflect. And so they won't fully receive. And so we can tell a lot about a woman's ability to receive just by giving her a compliment. Mm-hmm. And it's great, ourselves included. We didn't realize how big of a manifesting hack just receiving the micro things, because if you're calling in these big things in your life, like a
a career transition or even clarity, how are you going to receive that inspiration or that next level of life if you can't even accept someone telling you you look beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember being a teenager and having a friend say, you've got a real problem receiving compliments. And I had no idea. And I'll never forget it. You know, those comments that stay with you. And I was like, it cut really deep, to be honest. I was like, oh, but it was definitely within my programming and something like that I've had to work on very intentionally. What are your tips for people who struggle with like receiving compliments or receiving any kind of help or support or, you know, going to help with your kids? You're like, no, I've got it. You've got it. But you're not. You're literally drowning in it.
Yes. Well, if you knew that it was the key to unlocking your next level life, this just by receiving the small stuff and cultivating that habit, like if you knew, because we say this with all of the tips that we give around manifesting, is that like, if you knew that this was the thing you have to do, and it's so easy to practice, because what you'll find is that when you make it more intentional to receive, and that could be, you know, a compliment, it could be someone lets you cross the street, it could be
Man holding the door open for you.
men holding your door,
Yeah,
or you go to breakfast with your girlfriends and she wants to pay. Everyone's like, oh, I'll get this, right? And you're like, oh, and normally we'd say, oh, like I'll send you some cash to cover this. But just letting your friend buy you a freaking coffee.
Yeah.
Right?
And we will say, Fiona, that there is also with this inability to receive, what we also can see with some women, it's like this martyr energy, which can be hard for women to accept, because part of their identity is tied up in these stories around, I do it all on my own. No one can do it as good as me. Yeah, my partner never helps. He's lazy. He's this, he's that. Or my family lives far away, so I don't have any help. And that becomes their identity.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no magic in being the martyr.
Yeah. Well, and that ties into vulnerability.
Exactly. Well, and that's the biggest thing, as I was going to say next, is that receiving is so vulnerable.
Yes.
And not being the martyr anymore is so vulnerable, because you really have to be open, right? And so many women, we've closed ourselves off to all of those things to keep ourselves safe.
Yeah.
And really, that's where the magic lies.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I was talking to my mentor about this just last week, because my word for the year is receive. So thanks, universe. But I was talking about how when I had, I've got identical twin daughters. And when I had them, I had a 2-year-old, just turned 2-year-old, highly spirited, like climb the walls kind of toddler in the house as well. And we had family, thankfully, who all flew from Australia to Vancouver, Canada to like live with us for the first like 4 months, because it's an absolute, well, your mum could tell you, like you can't even explain the circus, the chaos. But
so remember really, it at all. Yeah.
No, but we really, that's interesting. But it's really fascinating, because I was saying to her, like in moments of absolute need where I had no other choice, I was actually okay to receive. But once I came out of that, I did fall back into my old patterning of like friends offering to drop meals off. And I was like, no, I've got it. And I didn't have it. So it's interesting how it can be sort of situational as well. Like literally when you've got no choice, you're like, hey, I'm going to have to do this. But it definitely was still a pattern that, you know, and it is, I'm still working on it. It's not one that's done and dusted by any means.
Well, and it's so fascinating you say that, Fiona. We hear this all the time, because it's a control aspect as well. And especially high functioning, high achieving women, we find like ourselves, we were so controlled. We had no idea. Yeah. And a part of our work started to evolve to men, because we were like, oh, okay, you know, we're like nailing it with this Airbnb thing. We're living our best lives. Mm-hmm. But there were still these areas of things that we wanted from our husbands that we needed their buy-in from.
Well, and we had no idea that we thought that both of our relationships had like reached where they were. Like there was no real problems.
Yeah, there was no real problems. We thought they peaked.
Yeah, we thought they peaked for sure.
Yeah. Well,
peaked and plateaued, or?
Yeah, peaked and plateaued for sure.
Yeah. Well, and what it made me think of this is because what you were saying about when you actually had to let go is when you were able to receive the help. This happens a lot with women and their husbands, is that they want their man to step up. They want him to lead. They want him to make more money. They want to make more money, all of the things. And what we hear time and time again is that, oh, well, you know, like when I broke my leg and I had to receive help from him, is when he started coming in and cleaning and taking care of the kids and doing all these things. And that's because you had to receive help and you stopped being so controlling because you had to focus on yourself.
Yes.
And so that's what kind of then led us into this other piece of this manifesting pocket where we didn't even realize what was draining our energy because we were like, all right, we're living in this beautiful place. Everything is like working out.
Yeah.
And then, but like, why is everything like, it could be better, but we just didn't even know how. We didn't even know how.
Yeah.
And so we stumbled across these man tools,
like a relationship rhetoric that seemed more traditional. And Hilary and I, my husband and I had just finished renovating our house, and I desired this house full of furniture that we had chosen. But he was like, "Oh, we spent too much on our reno. Like, we need to wait a bit." And I was kind of like, "Ugh." And then Hilary, you just desired like a more. What would you say?
Well, a cervical orgasm, because I'd heard that a cervical orgasm is a manifestation hack. And again, we're manifestation junkies at heart. And so I was like, if I can have this, have a more magnetic life just by like having a cervical orgasm, which I was like, your cervix can do that. I had no idea. And so I started pushing my husband, being like, this is what I want. And so, and sending him all these videos on how to do it. But you are being so controlling, which I had no idea. This was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And he was not doing it. And I signed him I sent him a link for this. It's called like Super Comp Camp with this woman named Kim Anon. And then he missed the registration.
Or like, I can't believe you missed the registration.
Yeah, because for that kind of orgasm, you need the man's buy-in because he has to last for a long time. And he needs to know what to do. He needs to know what spot to hit, right? Yeah. Because most people, included, have no idea. I mean, I had no idea. Yeah, that like I was like, where is my cervix? I have no idea. And so when I was on the beach with a friend, and I was telling her about like, I really am desiring this thing with my husband, and he's not doing it, and I'm so frustrated.
Yeah. And she was like, oh, look, there's these like set of tools you can use with your, like these skills that you can use with your husband. Read this book. Yeah, read this book. And it's more traditional. It's more like old school thinking. And this book, it's called The Empowered Wife, but
by Laura Doyle. People always ask us.
Yeah, people always ask us. And we're like, that was our starting place. That's definitely not like the basis of our process, but it was our starting point because we read the book, and then we were like, you know what, in the name of manifesting, some of this stuff seems a bit archaic. Like, we're both raised by like feminist moms. And so we were kind of like surrender, like we're not sure about
yes. Well, surrender, use respect, gratitude, apologize. We were like, ugh. Well, like, but we were like,
in the name of manifesting, right? And then within a week, I got my house full of furniture. Hilary got what she.
I didn't get the cervical orgasm within a week because it takes time. But my husband started showing up like a lion in the bedroom, like complete. And he was, I'd come home and I'm like seeing him watch these videos, and I'm like, oh my God, this is fucking working.
Yeah, they work. Yeah,
he was showing up like a Viking in the bedroom. And I was like, whoa, I love this. And so we're like, there's something here.
Well, because we tried to share the book with our girlfriends, and we talk about this a lot. They were like, absolutely not. Because we were putting all of our girlfriends on group chats, and we're like, let's all read the book together.
Well, and let's all like, get your man to do what you want. Well, because the plot twist, Fiona, was that we got this harmony with our husbands, stop being so controlling, which we didn't even know we were controlling.
And our manifestations were dropping in like crazy.
Like, and that was the biggest thing. We're like,
yeah, it was like the harmony with our husbands, even though that was great. It was more like, oh my God, we've been wasting so much life force in trying to control our men. And so, and our kids. Oh my God, I have to control my kids so much.
Yes.
Well, and the thing is that, so with this book, this is Ber speaking, because Laura Doyle's, her whole philosophy is like, she wants to end world divorce. And so sometimes her process can come more as like keep your marriage together at any cost.
It feels like doormatty.
Yeah. And sometimes. Yeah. And so, but when we would recommend the book and none of our friends would read it, we were like, we need to like really drill down, like, why are our manifestations coming through so quickly? And why does this work? And why does this work with men? And so that led us to evolutionary psychology and biology with men, which is basically this idea of like, yes, women, we are in this modern society, but if you look on the whole spectrum of human evolution, which is like 5 to 7 million years, this whole like hyper independent women, like this rural body is not even 100 years. And so it's a speck on human evolution. So if we think that our primal brains still aren't running the show, we're like really hitting ourselves. And so we're like, all right, let's actually dive deep into the science. And so we went on this whole obsessively, assertively, thousands of hours being like, what is it? Like on a primal level, what is it that motivates men? On a primal level, what is it that motivates women? What is happening in your biology when you do these different things with men? Yeah, it's happening in their biology because we started to share the tools with our friends who were dating because we could get you, our friends that were married, harmony like this, get what they wanted like this. But with dating, we were kind of like, it's like shout out to our first couple friends that let us do it because we hadn't figured it out, but it was around the primal component of keeping a man in the chase. Yeah. When you're dating, what hormones bond you to him? What hormones bond him to you? Because they're not the same. They're not the same. So like women, we bond to men during sex in the beginning. We release oxytocin, which bonds us. And with men, they don't release those same hormones. No, then they release hormones by doing it by effort, through effort, and having them come to you. So this whole thing of it being equal is actually draining women and taking us out of our power. Yeah. So we started to research all of this, get all this primal component together, but we still weren't clear on why our manifestations were coming through so fast. We thought, okay, there's definitely an energetic component because we're conserving so much energy because it's the way you speak to men. It's the way that you speak your desires. It's the way that you prioritize your own energy. Yeah. Self-care every day, right? You're going inward. The way you're not controlling everything that everyone around you is doing. The way you're giving him space to lead. All of these things. And so then we'd always been students of quantum physics, but not deep dive. And something came across our path. I don't even remember what it was. And it started with Zadim's reality transurfing. He's this Russian quantum physicist who wrote this book about, which is like crazy. It took me, I'm a speed reader, and it took me months to get through it because the concepts are so just multifaceted. Yeah. But I got through it. And then we realized, oh my God, this way of being with men, primal psychology and biology is a perfect overlay with quantum physics. Yeah. And quantum physics is just science's way of describing manifesting. And so we were like, oh my God, that is why. So that's when we created our own process. We called it Menifestation. So MEN. So, and the first part is highlighted. And really, because people will come to us, like women will, and they're like, okay, I want to get this certain outcome with a man. And so they'll come into the process, but really manifestation isn't about men. Mm-hmm. It's just about using your relationship with men as this portal to training ground to experiment with all of these quantum concepts that look like they're you experimenting with the man in your life, but really they're manifestation hacks. It's almost like it's like a manifesting method disguised as relationship advice is how we describe it. But we haven't even gotten to color yet. Yeah. Because our personality, I don't know if it's because we're both Sagittarius, we love, we're very curious and we love new things. We get bored really easily. Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, but what we're just generators. Yeah. So we follow what lights us up. Yeah. Yeah. And the common thread through all of this is energy and frequency. Yeah. That's what really lights us up. And so even with the colors, right, it's what we realized. Well, do you have any questions about manifestation before we jump into the colors?
Yeah, before we get into colors, because that's a whole nother bucket. I guess what was coming through for me was more around if the control drops down, there's more space for life force, energy, and higher vibrations and emotions and feelings to actually be circulating in your system. So is that part of it as well? It sort of compounds, as you let go, more can flow. And so it just keeps building and building.
100% right. Well, and that's again, that primal psychology overlap with quantum physics because releasing control in your, men get repelled by control. It reminds them of their mom and it emasculates them big time. But releasing control, how many times have we heard with manifesting, don't focus on how it gets done, just focus on the result that you would love. And same thing with men. If you're telling them your desire, you're focusing on the outcome, but never controlling how they do it. Yeah. How they do it. And so releasing control is the biggest manifestation hack ever because you're creating space in your reality for infinite possibilities to come in to solve your problems, to up-level your reality, bring in all the things that you desire. So, and again, well, and the plot twist is that you can't control other people. And no.
You think you can. You think you spend decades thinking you can.
Yes. Well, and it's just a life work journey. We call that like nudging your character in the hologram, basically, which is like if you like doing that just exerts so much energy. I know you deal with this with your kids though. So for me, Ber speaking, it's easier for me to say like, don't control other people because I'm not actually in charge of anyone else's life except for my own. But like,
You had to try to control your husband.
oh, for sure. But with kids, because you still are looking after their well-being, especially for all the moms that are.
So definitely a balance of keeping them safe, right? And then, I just pick my battles.
Yeah.
Right. It's around like what they want to wear to school. If my littlest wants to put her shirt on backwards and inside out, or if she wants to brush her hair every day, she doesn't like to brush her hair, brush her teeth, things habits I know she needs to form. There's, I let her dress herself, but I will say like, all right, well, we like force her to brush her teeth. So there's a balance with kids for sure. But like something with my husband, for example, he used to send me these messages and be like, hey, I'm like, I'd love to cook us a dinner tonight. And before I'd be like, okay, great. Make sure you go to the organic butcher and get the mince that has like fat content. Make sure it's grass fed. Go to when you're at the store, make sure you bring your glasses so you can read the label to make sure there's no seed oil and get the butter from this place because it's better. When you get the spaghetti, remember last time you got this kind of spaghetti? I'd be like, I'm tired just hearing that. I know, but I used to control it.
Was your mom like this?
No.
Oh, interesting.
No, our mom is really good at releasing control and receiving, actually. Oh, she did work very hard, but she has no problem asking for help and letting people do things for her, which is amazing. Go, mom. No, but with what I started to do is when my husband wanted to help, I would just say, thank you so much. I really appreciate when you help. And whatever you decide, we're going to love. And then if he came home and he'd got the
pasta sauce with sugar in it.
Yeah, pasta with or didn't get the organic brand, whatever. I'd like so you don't say anything.
Yeah,
because
you're just say thank you.
Because what you're trying to do is you also want to praise the effort that he is going to. Because if for any of your listeners that are married, what we find so often with our clients is that they don't thank their husbands for what they're already doing, especially in a marriage with children, because they're like, why am I going to thank him for taking out the trash? Because he should be doing that anyways. Why am I going to thank him for picking up the kids? Because he should be doing that anyways. But the plot twist is that when you actually thank a man for what he's already doing, he does more. So much. And we had no idea. Yeah. And the frequency of gratitude is one of those high vibrations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then they start thanking you. Yes. Because another thing, because what we hear a lot is women will say, my husband doesn't recognize any of my efforts. I'm over here, over functioning, overdoing.
Like, why do I need to be the first one to thank him?
Yeah. Because I'm the one that's doing more than him. But we're like, well, if you could take it, use this as an experiment, right? Mm-hmm. Start to think for the little things he's doing, because what you'll see is that when you start to thank him, he does more. And then you start to realize that he actually does a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. Because men have the capacity to take so much on.
Yeah. Well, and if you married a man and had kids with him, he must have been like a man with redeeming qualities that you could build a life with. Otherwise, why would you marry him and have children? Right. So that's still there. It's just about maybe he needs to be inspired, because again, we were emasculating our husbands
and we had no idea.
And so it can happen to the best of us.
Oh yeah. And something I've been doing recently, which was someone I had on recently, we talked about the invisible load. I've been really conscious of explaining all the stuff that I'm doing behind the scenes and what's on my mind, And my other half, Jules, has started to do the same. And I'm like, oh shit, you're holding a lot too. Like, how you just assume it's all on you. And it's really fascinating because we're both holding more than what we can't handle at times. And you don't always, but you're right. Someone's got to go first. So if you're the one who's struggling, you may as well go first because you've got nothing to lose. You've got everything to gain, be it saying the thank yous or sharing what's invisible that you're doing that you feel like you're not being acknowledged for. Well, make it visible and then see if and say thank you and see if it starts to spin the wheels in a slightly different direction.
Well, yes. And being vulnerable also incites his desire to want to protect you. So bringing up.
I love it.
It's so, and being vulnerable is a manifestation hack. There's so much because your defenses are going down. So it all just feeds into each other.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, let's switch gears to colors because this is your latest offering and passion. And it was what really drew me back to you too, because I was like, I had a ping recently around this next phase, let go of the hustle and the strategy. This is a frequency game for me in podcasting and coaching and everything. And so when you started sharing about how you were studying at this stage to become certified as color analysis, initially I was like giggling because I'm like, oh my God, this is such a like 1970s housewife color wheel sort of thing. Like, are we going to be wearing aprons again? But then when I started thinking about it and you were sharing more content, I was like, oh no, this is a frequency play.
100%. I just got chills. Oh, I love it. So this is Ber speaking. So about 3 years ago, I was about to turn 40. I had just quit Salesforce, I think, or I was like, maybe it was a few months after I'd quit. And I just kind of started to think like, okay, I'm ready to be seen. I didn't know like what my business was going to be. I was looking after our Airbnbs, but I just was like, I just have this desire, like getting to 40, it's such a huge milestone for so many women. I had left corporate and I was just like, I would love to, like I'm ready to be seen. I'm ready to be seen. And that was kind of like my mantra for that year. And so, because social media reads your brain, whatever your frequencies, who knows, I started getting these ads on TikTok for color analysis. And I just was like, oh, this is really interesting. Like, this seems like knowledge I should just probably have. If I'm moving to this era of being seen, of like, being as confident on the outside as I am on the inside, let me get my colors done. So I had this 2-hour analysis with this woman in Canada. And by the end of it, she gave me my color palette. I'm a true autumn. And I had to, at the end, we're talking about, hair color, and it was a huge change. It was like from blonde my whole life, blonde highlights, to like an auburn red. And I was just like, you know what? Like fuck it. I'm just going to go all in because like, why not? Let me just see if this is going to work. I had started like uploading some photos and I was like, oh, maybe actually I do look better with dark hair. Anyway. And so I went all in on my color palette, my hair, because when you do an analysis, when you get an analysis done, it's not just about the clothes you wear. It's about your ideal hair color, your makeup tones, your jewelry, your which metals. And so it really is every aspect of your appearance. You get this framework to use as a tool to choose from all these aspects of your appearance. And so I was like, what? I'm just going to go all in. And the transformation, oh my God. I was like, not only people were like, oh my God, you look so beautiful. And I was like, thank you. But in my head, I'm like, I know, because I had no, it was like I was so magnetic. It's crazy. And I was on the sidelines being like, let's see how this plays out. Rather than it's having a twin, right? Yeah. Because I wasn't ready to let go of my blonde, but it was undeniable. Undeniable. Like, no, we have same color. Well, and I was like, oh my God, because I would tell Hilary, I was like, this is a manifesting hack because I'm preserving my energy. Well, we didn't know why. We didn't know why yet, but if I was like, Hilary, this is a manifest, but I knew that it was preserving my energy in terms of decision fatigue and like everything, feeling more magnetic, like everything was in harmony. Like it didn't matter what I would pull from my closet, everything would go together. And just like, because I think a lot of women can relate to this. Like for me, going shopping, like I would get an invitation to go to a friend's party or something, right? And the first thing I would think is like, oh, before I got my colors done, I'd be like, God, like I hope I can find something that I feel nice in, beautiful in. And so many times I would go to the mall and then I would like spend all day trying to find something just to come home and be like I don't feel beautiful. I don't think I bought something because it looks beautiful on the rack. Maybe, I might have spent $500 or $600, but it like, I didn't know if it was like the best thing for me. And then I would look at photos later and kind of be like, And so, but what with color analysis, knowing your palette, it was like every opportunity to go out and be seen. I was like, yes. And I was like, oh my, like it became fun. And I would go out and shop and I would know immediately, it wasn't even so much about what the yeses were, but it was about being able to eliminate the no's so rapidly because I'm like, oh, this whole department store of clothing, I can hone in on everything that it like is aligned with my color palette. And then I can just try those things on. And so I would be, what used to take me like 5 or 6 hours of going and trying to find stuff, I could find an amazing outfit in like 30 minutes. And so I was like, I was telling everyone, I was like, get your colors done. I got my husband's colors done. I've given all of our friends, all of our birthday presents that we would give everybody. And I was like, you guys, this is a manifesting hack. Like, but we didn't exactly know why.
then we had like a year after getting my colors done, that's when we started doing Menifestation with an E, and we were taking on private clients. And so it was something we always did, irrespective if they were dating for commitment or they were looking for harmony in marriage. That was one of our non-negotiables. They had to get their colors done because we were like, as a woman, you shouldn't like getting ready and doing, because there's so many choices we make about our appearance. We're getting our hair done, our eyebrows tinted, our lips tattooed in some instances, our eyebrows tattooed. Like, there's so many choices about our appearance we make every day. We don't want this to be an energy drain for you.
We want you to be your most magnetic self, especially on the dating apps. But again,
we want this to be an aspect of your reality where you have total confidence that you're crushing it at all times, because then you can open up capacity for the inspiration for the business idea to come in, or the, just like whatever it is that like the decision making around your appearance without your color palette is like, it's an energy suck and it's a drain of your life force. And so fast forward until only about a few months ago, we kept sending everyone 2.5 years later. Yeah, 2.5 years later, we kept sending everyone to the same woman in Canada, and then on TikTok. And then we had a friend who was like, why don't you guys get certified? And then we were just like, well, we would only, because we take it so seriously. Yeah. We were just like, oh, well, we would only get trained by this one woman who was like 70 years old. She invented the whole system, 50 years ago. And she would have to do it in Australia. We'd only do it in person. And so then the same friend was like, no, you guys have to do it. You have to do it. And we're like, no, we'll just find like a preferred partner who gives our clients preferred treatment. And then it was probably the third time she said something. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to look online and see if this woman ever comes to Australia. Literally, it was like coming to Sydney in 2 weeks. We have 2 slots left. And so it was crazy. It was meant to be, obvious. Oh, yeah. 100%. And so we flew to Sydney. This was a few months ago. We got certified by like the greatest of all times, Karen Brunger. Hey, or anyone who's interested. Yeah, she does training also at home in Canada. Yeah, and she founded the Image Institute in Canada. Yeah, and she just is she's like our guru. She came in to love the training all in white. She's like dripping in diamonds. This like cute little like bob with like fringe. Well, and the thing we love about her the most is that she said her life is just beginning. Like she's like, I'm 70 years old. I've built this company. I do all these over 50 years. For 50 years, but every day I wake up and I only do what I want. And she talks about, because when we were in like the circle with like 20 other women that were all getting certified over these few days, and everybody was going around, we just said like, the reason why we're interested in this is because we know it's a manifesting hack, but we're not sure why. And we saw Karen's eyes like light up, and then we were like, okay, because she's an energy expert as well. And we were like, okay, tell us. And then she said, oh, well, basically what happens and what we know now is that everybody has their own unique frequency, right? We're all just energy vibrating at different frequencies. So you, Fiona, you have your personal, unique like frequency of the combination of your hair, your skin, your eyes, your lips, your teeth, like everything that makes Fiona her hair. Yeah? Yes. And so when you drape yourself in colors and in jewelry and your hair color, your makeup, if it's all in resonance with you, it's all in harmony, then it's amplification of your signal. And so I'm sure like people remember, that tuning fork experiment where there's 2 tuning forks side by side. They're both the same hertz, and one gets pinged and the other one starts vibrating. That's what happens to your personal signal when you dress in your colors and you integrate this in every aspect of your appearance. You literally are vibrating. And so everything becomes more effortless because you become this very strong signal that's just you. It's crazy. It's crazy. We just thought like, okay, we're going to do this for a private client. Yeah. It didn't going to be, we had no intention that we were going to set up this studio at Amber's house and build this high for online. No, we were just like, we love this information. And we're just going to offer this to our private clients. And because we're in the season of like, let's follow what lights us up. Yeah. No expectation of where it goes. And we're just so obsessed. Like, let's just see where it goes. And then we were inundated with people being like, I want this. So it's like snowballed into this thing where we only have the capacity to do in-persons 1 day per week. But there's just been so much magic that has come from becoming certified in color analysis, because it's opened up opportunities to partner with celebrity stylists in Australia and with like interior designers and like celebrity makeup artists who are interested in the brands we love. Yeah, the brands we've loved. And so we could have never foreseen that just following this obsession of color analysis was going to turn into all these other opportunities, which are just like continuing to culminate into more of our obsessions. Well, and that's what happened from just starting the Airbnb. So for your listener, right? It's like, okay, you take that first step. You have no idea where it's going to go 4 years, 5 years down the road, which is even better, because then you're not limiting potential. But so for the person that's listening, woman that's listening, and she's like, okay, I'm in this safe job, but I like in my heart, I really would love to create. And I'm curious, about what my life could look like if I was in this corporate job. I'm curious about like learning about floral arrangement. It could be any, or like I love to bake and I like want to start this little baking side hustle. Yes, whatever it is. Well, and Fiona, you got your colors done. I definitely want to. Because you're a true spring. You're like true springing. How have you found that like integrating that has changed things for you?
Well, it's really interesting because the colors that I thought I were much cooler. And so, but I have got a mix in my wardrobe. But I guess when I look at like this kind of print, as I was saying to you before we got on, quite a few of my Mr. Zimmy clothes, which those of you, I know they're like becoming more global, but the Aussies will know about Mr. Zimmy. A lot of my dresses and tops from Mr. Zimmy are in my palette. So I think I was drawn to the clothes, but I was always like, oh, they're a bit bold, they're a bit bright. But my words of last year were bold and bright. So I'm sort of like, I think that they were sort of ahead of me stepping into the color palette work. But so, yeah. And I think some of them, the learnings for me have been around like my coaching, what you guys have talked about, our childhood programming. There were certain things that I had been told as a child, like, oh no, you can't wear that color. It doesn't go with your skin, or you should only wear silver or white gold. Like I never bought yellow, shiny gold jewelry, and I still haven't yet, but it's on my shopping list now because it's in my palette. So for me, it's exciting now because it gives you more discernment when you go shopping because you're like, these are my colors. I don't need to worry about bringing those ones into the change room to try on. And I think I'll be wearing different colors. Like I said to you, I'd never worn caramels or camels or anything like that. And they are all featuring. So I'm quite excited to experiment now with new colors and see how it goes. And the other thing I think is the ultimate hack is once you shop for colors that are in your palette, you build like this, not just frequency based, but a capsule that all goes together. So you can mix and match and you don't need to be like, oh, does this go with this or that and try on 15 different things. You can just be like, bang, bang, we're good. So
100% right. Yeah. Well, and like as women, because we can be like us, our appearance, aging, all of those things, there can be a lot of pressure on us, especially as we get older to like, we don't, like basically what we desire as women is that when we walk into a room, you look like you know yourself. And that is what color analysis does. It really is, because that's really what true chicness is. That's really what confidence is. It's like like after you hit 40, you really do know yourself, right? On the inside. So having that mirror on the outside where you walk into a room and people are just like, wow, like she really just like knows what looks good on her. And then you have that confidence because you're like, yeah, I got my colors done. like I do know myself. And so they really, and that's why, again, it's just it's like all of these things are energy amplification. It's manifestation. And it's just, it's why we're so passionate about it. Oh yeah. Well, and it was something that just dropped in a couple of things. One, when you are getting curious about what it is that you would love to do in terms of creating another business, in terms of leaving this, the safe environment that you're in, color analysis is a really great portal, a really good gateway to that, because it's about tapping into your confidence and tapping into your own magnetism and allowing space for magic to happen. I will say and you call everything that doesn't serve you, because you become so clear of what a no is. We just did a reel, which is what no sounds like after 40. No, what a yes sounds like after 40. And the woman in the video is one of our clients going through her closet going, no, 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 no. Well, she's Aussie, so it's no. Well, because again, like in order to make space for the yeses, you have to be savage and say no to all the things that don't serve you. Well, I was going to say that this is when we were talking about before of, what are the first steps to cultivate that confidence? Make space. So make space. So not just color analysis. If you're not even ready for color analysis, take it. We have this process we do with our clients where we have them
take an inventory on everything they do over 3 days and everything that they're saying yes to, that and start to edit.
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing because it's an obligation?
Yeah, like that group chat. Where you feel like you have to respond all the time.
Yeah, or volunteering at your kid's school because I don't do that. Well, I'm like, they go to private school. So I'm like, I'm paying for you guys to do this. So yeah, well, no, but like, and when you're in the season of creation and wanting to do something different
and inspiration.
Yes, you have to be savage about where you're putting your energy, especially for high achieving, over functioning women. It's you say yes to everything and you do it all so well, right? And so you're like, so you have this desire to do something different. So you get really savage about where you're putting your energy.
Well, so you changed your number.
Oh yeah. One of the things I did when I was getting really savage, when Menifestation had been created, but I realized like, I have so many energy drains at the moment. And I love doing all these different things. So get really clear on what I actually love. I was like, there's too much noise. And I used to get messages all the time from people. Oh, can so-and-so, my friend, come on the radio? They have this new company that they want to talk about. Oh, can you bring this person on your podcast? All of these things that I would have loved to say yes to. But I was like, all right, if we have like a finite amount of energy every day. Think of your day as a battery cell, and everything that you say yes to drains a little bit of your life force, right? And so getting clear on what I wanted, I thought, when I get all these pings, people asking me to help them with different things, it's actually taking away from what I would love to do. So I changed my number. I didn't give it to anybody. I only gave it to Amber.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best things I could have done because I didn't have people messaging me asking for anything. I wasn't in group chats, and I wasn't in like the parent chats or the soccer chat, all of those things.
Well, and that's when our content first started going viral.
Mm-hmm. That's when our content viral.
Yeah.
Because I had space for inspiration on content that really lit me up.
Yeah.
And that started,
we were doing content laughing.
Yeah. So for the woman who's listening, who's like, okay, I don't want to get my colors done yet, but I know I have this little like nickel on doing something different. Start to do the inventory on where you're giving your energy to and start to get really savage about saying no. And when you create that space, then you can start to get inspiration for the things that you really love.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so awesome. Let's wrap it up. I'm going to give you guys some rapid fire questions. It'll be quick and then I'll let you go. What's one thing, Hil, I'll go first. What's one thing you're deeply grateful for right now?
The capacity to be able to enjoy the life that I've created here.
Gorgeous. And what's one part of yourself you used to hide or hold back, but now you lead with?
Oh God. Probably that like I can be kind of a hermit, and because I used to think like I need to make all these new friends and like be out doing stuff, and now I totally embrace like if like we had a client yesterday that was like, oh, do you guys hang out all the time? And I'm like, yeah, Hilary's like my best friend and like the person I spend all my time with, and I don't even care about. I have other friends, but I don't have desire anymore to have to like build this huge friend group. And I am meet other people. I meet other people. And I love the fact that my circle's really, really, really small. And that like, I'm not really out to make new friends, really. Like if I meet someone that really, really like that I connect with, I will make time. But like, I'm in this season of like, I'm really only doing what I love to do. Like, and I'm not making any apologies for it anymore. And so, I'm in bed by 8:30. I wake up at 4:30 and I spend the majority of my time with my husband and my sister. And like, I don't make any apologies for that.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that also like a manifestation hack? Because you're just surrounding yourself with people who, lift you up.
100%. When you're doing this editing experiment, you're getting the people out of your life drain you.
So important.
So important. And we give our clients scripts for that all the time.
Yeah.
Because it can be really hard to say no to people that you've said yes to for so long. And so I'm trying to think what's like a little phrase you can.
Well, because we would get when we were doing this editing and just building it as a habit in our life and in our reality so that it just became second nature. Because again, like you were saying before, Fiona, you can't control other people, but also like everyone in your reality is just a reflection of you. And if you're the main character at all times and someone like feeling like obligated to hang out with someone that you don't want to, then it really just becomes like if they text you don't want or not help when it's just kind of like this is a like, I actually need to be focusing that energy on myself and my reality versus trying to help other people. And what we find too is that when you get out of the habit of helping other people, a lot of the times you are enabling them and keeping them stuck. And so by saying no to them, it's usually the biggest gift you could ever do to that, like for them.
Yeah. Because so if there's someone who's listening who wants to edit a friend or a family member out of their life right now, a really good phrase that they could say is, like if the person messages them for help, something like, well, this is what you did. Yeah.
Well, if they say like, hey, can we grab coffee? Or like, I have this problem I really want to come and talk to you about, or, like that, like,
yes. I'm being really intentional about where I'm putting my focus at the moment. So I can't hang out right now. But thank you for your support. Thank you for your support. And that's it. Yeah. And you can mix that around a bit.
Yeah. But we say I can't is such a flex, like as women, especially female empowerment, like, but we were taught that you can do everything and you should do everything. And like women probably do it better.
And you should never say I can't.
Yeah, you should never say I can't. But we think it's that we're going to write a whole book on the power of I can't and how it's actually such a flex to say I can't, because it's like the ultimate boundary move with no explanation, and it preserves your energy. And so like saying I can't, what you'll realize is that when you start incorporating I can't as part of your essential vocabulary, people actually don't care that much. And you're like, oh my God, because also when we say no to things as women, we tend to over-explain why we can't do it, right? Like, which is another energy drain, right?
Hmm.
But if you just practice just being like, it's friends like, hey, do you want to go do this? And I'd be like, oh, I can't, but I'll catch you next time. And then you don't give an explanation, start experimenting with that in your reality. And it's like, you're like, oh my God, I never needed to give a full explanation. I can't is enough.
Yeah, so empowering. I love it. Okay, when you guys hear the word limitless, the name of this podcast, what's a word or two that springs to mind?
Oh, I just think of like expansion and pure possibility, which is quantum physics, because this is all an energy game. It's all a frequency game. And so limitless just means like pure potential. You can literally have anything you desire in this reality. And you came here to be the main character of your story. And so literally whatever you desire, go after it, because like no one is going to hand it to you. It's like you have to go out and get it.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. And last one, I'll just put this one to Hil. If you need to lift your vibration or mood, what is your favorite pump up song?
Oh, song.
Yeah.
Say Hello by Jay-Z. Say hello to the kind guy. Da, da, da. Yeah. We love a good, like, we have an R&B radio show. And so we love like art about R&B. Yeah. Say Hello from Jay-Z. Yeah. It just puts you in a vibe. It's nostalgia. It's nostalgic. It's a vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. Well, Hil and Ber, thank you. I mean, we could have kept talking for another 3 hours, but I'm so grateful that you both came on, and thank you for sharing your story from way back in COVID to all of the amazing things you've called in and all your manifestation hacks and tips and tricks. I know everyone's going to be listening and re-listening to this one because there's so much to take away. So thank you for coming on Limitless today. Thank you for tuning in to Limitless. If you enjoyed today's episode and love hearing the stories of courageous cycle breakers, I'd be grateful if you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Your feedback not only helps others discover the show, but it also amplifies our mission to unlock emotional freedom and true potential. Every review makes a difference in helping more people embrace their limitless life.